so hard, forgot how to vacation.
Yo, what's going on guys? Stacia the Natural here, and today I'm coming at you guys with a new video. So today I'm going to be talking about why I no longer intermittent fast, and this may actually teach you guys that maybe intermittent fasting isn't for you guys either. So I made a video about 2 years ago, I think, and it was talking about how I dropped a weight class. I made similar videos kind of recently, but this video in particular, it was how I dropped a weight class. This was the first time I had dropped down to 132 pounds, and one of the methods I used was intermittent fasting. So if you don't know what intermittent fasting is, or IF, it's basically when you eat in a certain amount of time and you don't eat in another amount of time. So for me, I would basically do like a 12 hours and then 12 hours, or I would do 16 and 8. I think that's the right amount of time. So I wouldn't really restrict myself to the max. Some people only have an eating window of 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And for me, I was not doing that, but I was still doing intermittent fasting. So how was it affecting me? And just to give you guys an idea, when I was home doing intermittent fasting, when I would be home in New York training, doing intermittent fasting, I would most of the time do like fasted cardio. So I would do one workout without any food in my system in the morning, right? And then sometimes I would do a workout at night without eating anything after, right? So that would just be my intermittent fasting, and that helped me a ton to cut weight. And when I was at the training center, I would sometimes be doing 2 workouts without eating, just because of how the workouts were timed. I would be doing 2 workouts without eating and then be able to eat afterwards. So keep that in mind as I basically talk about why I no longer intermittent fast, because that was a big part of it. The main reason why I stopped intermittent fasting is because I was not properly fueled for each of my workouts. So as I said, when I was at the Olympic Training Center, there would be times where I would be doing 2 workouts without eating. And even at home sometimes when I was doing intermittent fasting, I would be doing 2 workouts without eating. Now, 1 workout is okay. That would just be fasted cardio or fasted whatever the hell you're doing, right? And that's fine. But then as an elite boxer, I'm going into another session without any energy, because all my energy was used up in that first session. All my energy from the night before, all that food that I had eaten, was used up in that first session, and now I have no energy or no fuel in my system to get me going or get me through the second workout. And I would still do it, and to be completely honest, I never actually realized how it affected me until I had switched out of intermittent fasting. And then I was like, oh, this is what energy feels like. This is what being able to go 100% feels like. And I mean, they're pretty minor differences, but there are differences. And I'm so happy that I made that switch when I did make it. Another reason why I stopped intermittent fasting is because it felt a lot more like a restriction or a diet rather than a lifestyle. So what do I mean by that? When everyone else was going to the cafeteria to go eat, I was like, oh no, I can't, I'm doing intermittent fasting. And it helped, it worked, but it just felt so much like a restriction, so everyone was going to the cafeteria to eat and I was just going back to the room drinking my water, and so not that I felt alone or outside or anything, but it definitely did kind of have an impact, when you're in camp, when you're in training camp, you want to feel like a family. You want to feel like a part of something. You don't want to feel lonely in an already very lonely sport. So not to say that this was super sad and depressing, but it sucks kind of when everyone else is going to eat, they're having fun, they're sitting down at the table, they're talking with each other, and I don't go to the cafeteria because I don't want to slip up and eat knowing that I'm intermittent fasting. Or not slip up and eat, but I don't want to go to the caf and put myself in the position to get something to eat, knowing that I'm intermittent fasting and won't be able to or won't be eating for another 2 to 3 hours after that time. Another reason why I stopped intermittent fasting was because it's a little bit difficult when you're in camp, when you're in social settings, I guess you could say, to intermittent fast when no one else is, when you don't have that support system. And this kind of goes to like, you know, you're trying to give up sugar, but you live with someone who has a bunch of sugar. You're probably gonna give in and just have some freaking sugar, right? So obviously there were days where I didn't follow intermittent fasting to the T, but for the most part I did. And there were times where I wanted to like cheat or just go out of the, you know, the plan that I had for myself, and I would, and not that I would feel bad per se, but I just knew that it just wasn't the most sustainable thing for me. Now, I did talk about a couple of cons for why I stopped intermittent fasting, but I also want to mention a couple pros. Now, if you're trying to lose weight, intermittent fasting is more than likely going to be the thing that you should be doing. It's a lot easier to cut your calories when you're restricting the time in which you can eat those calories. So that was a huge integral part in, you know, me cutting weight to 132. But I realized that that was not the only way to do it. But it is a great way. And if you are someone out there who's trying to lose weight or a boxer trying to cut weight, then intermittent fasting is a good tool, but sometimes it's not the best. Especially as a boxer or as an athlete, it may not be the best because you need to be fueled for your sessions. Like, you need to be fueled for your training. You just have to. Your body is your tool, and you need to fuel it. And intermittent fasting sometimes doesn't always fuel your body the way it needs to for the training that you'll be doing. So what did I do? What do I do besides intermittent fasting? What took intermittent fasting's place? So when I was in camp at the Olympic Training Center year before that, it was about October of 2018 or around that time, right? I was in camp, I was doing intermittent fasting, and a friend of mine, Jemima, shout out to you if you're watching this, she basically told me, you know, that I should not be doing intermittent fasting anymore. Obviously, I disagreed because it was helping me to cut weight, just like it had in many camps and many you know, fights and months prior to her telling me this. But then she told me, you should be trying to eat every 2 hours. And I know you guys are going to be like, oh, that's so much, oh, that's this, that's that. For me, and for some of you guys out there, boxing is your thing. It's your full-time job. It's the thing that you prioritize over a lot of things. So eating every 2 hours will not be the most difficult. It might be a little bit easier actually, because you are prioritizing boxing. At this time in my life, and even kind of now, boxing was my number one priority. So whatever I had to do to, you know, make boxing better, I was going to do it. So even if that meant eating every 2 hours and literally setting a timer or literally watching the clock for every 2 hours, every 2.5, 3 hours, every 2 to 3 hours, let's just say that, then that's what I was gonna do. So I know you guys are gonna be like, oh no, that's way too much. I'd rather just eat 3 meals and leave it at that. Then this may not be for you, but listen to why it's good. So I was eating every 2 to 3 hours, and I would time them around my workouts. So it was literally perfect. It was so perfect, guys. It would basically be, I would wake up in the morning, I'd do my fasted cardio, I'd have my first good breakfast meal. And it wouldn't be huge, it'd be like a small portion, I guess you could say. It would still be like a cutting meal, you know? It would still be a smaller portion, but I wouldn't feel so bad about it or whatever the case may be, because I knew that in 2 to 3 hours I'd be able to eat something else, whether that be yogurt, whether it be fruit, whether it be a small little bowl of oatmeal, a piece of toast, whatever it is. I knew that I was able to eat something in a couple of hours. So literally every 2 to 3 hours I was eating something, and it basically went like, you know, small portion meal, but a good one with everything that you need. And then you have a small snack. So fruit, yogurt, granola, something like that, right? And then 2 to 3 hours after that, you have your lunch, you have your next meal, and that is another smaller meal, but it's still a meal. It still has everything that you need, you're satisfied, and then 2 to 3 hours after that, you have another snack, yogurt, fruit, orange, boom, boom, boom. And then you just repeat that cycle for 2 to 3 hours, and then yeah, you're basically good to go. I noticed that basically helped a lot because for each of my training sessions, I was fueled. I wasn't worrying about being super hungry. I wasn't worrying about getting enough water in because that was coming with the training sessions. I was just making sure that I was fueled for each of my training sessions before and afterwards, and I noticed a huge difference with my energy levels, with my weight loss. I actually started to lose weight a little bit faster, like my body kind of, I guess, had gotten used to intermittent fasting, and when I had switched to eating every 2 hours, my body was kind of like, oh yeah, we like this. So yeah, that's basically it. That's basically why I stopped intermittent fasting, especially intermittent fasting specifically for weight loss and for boxing. You know, when it came to training camps and for cutting weight, I just switched it and went just to eating every 2 to 3 hours. How different were the calories? I honestly don't think that it was a huge amount of difference in the calories. If anything, I feel like I was eating more with eating every 2 to 3 hours as opposed to intermittent fasting. I feel like I was eating more but still losing weight. If you guys are looking to try eating every 2 hours as opposed to intermittent fasting, or just eating every 2 hours in general as opposed to whatever it is you're doing now, the biggest tip that I have for you guys is to have your foods and your snacks ready to go. So if you're the type of person that kind of wings your meals, wings whatever you're eating, then it's kind of going to be hard for you. I would make sure that I would have, 2 apples or nuts or bananas or I don't know. I would always make sure that my snacks would be ready to go so that even if my meals aren't completely ready, I would at least have my snacks ready and I don't have to go like reaching or like looking for them. I know where they are, I know what they are, and all that stuff. I'm also the type of person to plan out my meals throughout, like, for the week. You don't have to be like as crazy as I am, but I definitely recommend to be as organized as possible when it comes to your meals and what you're eating and how much you're eating, because it's very, very easy to go off your plan, to go off your diet if you're not tracking or being organized with what you're going to be eating. So yeah guys, that is it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. I just wanted to bring you guys some information on why I stopped intermittent fasting. If you guys did like this video, then go ahead and give it a like. Subscribe if you're new. I do post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And that's it guys. I hope you guys did like this video, and if you did, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Good